Hello, fifth grade. Welcome to day 2 of this new arrangement for math. Um, Mr. Austin here, and I can't wait to get started. But before we do, I got a friend I want to introduce you to. You see, when I moved here, I was amazed by how many trees there were. And when you have trees, what do you have? You have squirrels. So I would like to introduce you to my friend Earl the Squirrel. And Earl the Squirrel is here today to talk about something with me. So, Earl, what can I do you for?
Well, I got a problem with you, mister,
And why do you have a problem with me?
because you estimated wrong.
I estimated wrong. What did I estimate wrong?
The amount of seed you were going to give me in the squirrel feeder.
The squirrel feeder. Well, I was giving you, or I know that you need about 114 tenths of squirrel feed every day, and I was only going to feed you for 4 days.
That's right.
So I estimated that you would need 456 pounds of squirrel feed.
Do y'all hear this? 456 pounds he gives me. Do I need all that? No. He's being unreasonable.
You know what? You're being unreasonable. So I'm gonna teach this math lesson, and we don't want to hear from you.
Okay, fine. But if I turn into the 600-pound squirrel, you know why.
Okay, so now that Earl is gone, have you ever been accosted by a squirrel, by the way?
I heard that.
Oh, okay, I guess he's still here somewhere. So let's talk about what he's talking about. So before we get started, let's look at our learning goal. Okay, our learning goal for today says that I can make a reasonable estimation of a product by using my knowledge of place value. Okay, and this is a perfect scenario that we're in to try and figure this out. So what I said was that I know that Earl the Squirrel, our beloved Earl the Squirrel, needs about 114 tenths of a pound. Okay, that means of a pound of squirrel feed every day. Okay, we know that that's what he needs. And I said, I'm only going to feed him 4 days this week. He doesn't need to be fed every day. So he's going to be fed 4 days this week. If I wanted to write this as an expression, I could write it as 114 tenths times 4. Okay? Now, here's why I thought Earl the Squirrel needed 456 pounds of food. All I did was multiplied 114 times 4. Okay? Here we go, 114 times 4. 456. What you complaining about, Earl? Okay? I'm going to have your teacher pause the video here. Why is this answer wrong? Talk in your class about where my logic has gone wrong. Why is this an unreasonable estimation? Okay, hopefully you have had a chance to discuss this with your teachers and you've had a good discussion. Thinking about it, I'm realizing that I had 114 tenths. I'm using my knowledge of place value, which means I have 456 tenths. Okay, you can't see that. Okay, which means I have 456 tenths. Well, 456 tenths is very different than 456 pounds, right? Or 456 tenths of a pound is very different than 456 pounds. So let's use a place value chart to show us why. Okay, so here comes the place value chart, my favorite thing. There's our extra dark line to denote our decimal. Okay, here's our tenths place, our hundredths place, and our thousandths place. Then we have our ones, our tens, and our hundreds. Okay, and we can keep going, but we're just going to stop there for now. So looking back here, I have 456 tenths. Okay, so I'm going to put 456 in my tenths place. Well, I already know that that is way too much. So what I'm going to do is use some of my knowledge about place value and estimate about how many pounds this is, right? Okay, so I know that by looking at this, using my knowledge of place value, that I can only have comfortably a single digit in here. It's not going to work well for me to have 3 digits, right? So I know that I'm probably going to have to be pulling this out and pull this out, right? Now, this is where my skill of estimation is going to come in. I know that I am probably going to have to move this by a power of 10, right? Okay, so what could I do? What could I do? If I'm thinking about a power of 10 and I multiplied this times a power of 10, well, if I multiplied 465 or 456 tenths times 10, okay, I know that I'd be moving everything over one place, right? Okay, so now I have 4 and 56 tenths, right? 56 is still way too much. So I'm going to move that over. Now I have 45 and 6 tenths. So I could have said that a reasonable estimation would have been 45 and 6 tenths of a pound to feed Earl the squirrel, right? That would be a reasonable estimation. But we didn't even have to go through all of that process, okay? We know enough about place value at this point in time that we can just look at this, and we know enough about our multiplication facts that we can just look at an expression and estimate what we're going to have. So if I have 3 and 12 hundredths times 4, what is a good estimation that I'm going to have? Well, I know that 3 and 12 hundredths is the same as 312 hundredths, right? Okay, so if I've multiplied 312 hundredths times 4, well, let me think. I know that if I multiply 3 times 4, I'm probably going to get 12, right? And if I know that if I multiply 4 times 1, I'm probably going to get 4. And I know that if I multiply 2 times 4, I'm probably going to get 8, right? Or I will get 8. Okay? So, and remember, we're looking at 312 hundredths. Okay? That's why we're not worrying about a decimal point right now. So I could say a reasonable answer could be 1,248 hundredths, right? But we know using place value that that's not going to fly, right? So I want you to pause with your class and think about what this looks like in a place value chart and make an estimation or make a guess about what you're going to do to make this a more reasonable number. Okay? So is it going to be 1,248? Is it maybe going to be 1 and 248 thousandths? Is it maybe going to be 12 and 48 hundredths? Or is it going to be 124 and 8 tenths? Which one is the most reasonable? Okay. All right. Hopefully you have had a chance to talk over this with your class or with your class. So thinking about this, we knew that we had 1,248 hundredths, right? So are we just going to leave it at 1,248? No, because 1,248 is not the same thing as 1,248 hundredths. Okay, so now let's look at 1 and 248 thousandths. Okay, well, this is in the hundredths place, right? We know that we had 312 hundredths. So does it make sense for us to make it even smaller if we were multiplying by going into the thousandths place? No, not at all. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, because we're not dividing, we're multiplying, our number is going to get larger. Okay, now let's think about our next one. We have 12 and 48 hundredths. Okay, well, we're in the hundredths place. All right, we're in the hundredths place. So that could make sense. But if we were using an area model, or if we were using a place value chart and we were using powers of 10 to move things over, would that work out? Well, this is where we're going to have to put our estimation to the test. Okay, so let's use that place value chart. 10th, 100th, okay, ones, tens, hundreds. Okay, so if we're in the hundredths place, so we had 1, 2, 4, 8 hundredths, right? We know that we're probably going to leave this 8 here, and we're going to have to regroup this 124 so that we can get out of here. So let's start doing that. If we have 124, well, what we're going to do is we're going to move our not our 10 hundredths. Blah. Okay. What we need to do is think about how this is going to work out. So if we have 3 numbers, we need to move this 3 spaces, okay? 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, and that one 1, 4. Okay. So it made sense for our estimation to be 12 and 48 hundredths. I hope that made sense. I hope the discussions that you and your teachers have make sense to you. And I need to go check up on Earl and give my biggest apologies to him because I made him a really fat squirrel. So I will talk to you all later and have a great day. Bye-bye.